This is Jonathan. We're analyzing a marketing piece and we're looking for ways to improve this, ways to make it better. And so I'm not going to talk about everything that can be done here. I just wanted to point out some highlights. Just wanted to kind of go over a few things and really try to give you some ideas to improve this and make it better. And so I'm just going to walk through some stuff. It's not everything. It's just off the cuff. I'm just looking at it here for the first time. And forgive me if I've missed some of the intention of the piece, and so I may make some incorrect assumptions, but a couple things come to mind. So a couple smart things. Number one is the piece was started out with a headline, and this is incredibly important. The headline is really one of the most important things. So more important than the headline is who you're sending it to, essentially the mailing list. Obviously, if you're sending this piece to somebody that has no interest in lawn care services, sending it to them is a complete waste of money. So no matter how great the piece is, they're not going to look at it. They're not going to read it. You have no chance of winning the business. So the mailing list is the first most critical thing. Next is your headline. The headline is absolutely critical because this is what sets up the piece. They open it, they look at it, they read this headline, and they make a decision in that moment whether or not they're going to continue, or if they're going to look at the next piece of mail or the next door hanger they got on their door, whatever it is. So this really sets everything up. If this sells, you'll get them to read this first line. And then they're basically subconsciously analyzing your piece as they read. So think about what you do when you're reading mail that you get in the mail. You read it, and quickly, if you lose interest, you're done. You've trashed it. So the headline's got to be compelling to get you to read this next line. If this next line immediately causes you to lose interest, you're done. You're not going to read the next line. So it's very critical to think about that progression as they read through the piece. So this is a very short piece. It doesn't need subheadlines or anything like that. But on a longer letter, you'd need subheadlines. So you'd need headlines down throughout, smaller headlines for those that skim. They read the beginning, then they read this, and then they kind of jump through here and they read that. And then they jump down and they read the next headline, and oh, that's interesting, so I'm going to zoom in and read this paragraph, and then they start scanning again. So if you analyze or kind of look at some sales letters and other letters that are sent out that are multi-pages, or you read some of the websites online where they've got these subheads all throughout or these bold areas all throughout. It's basically for all those scanners that are zipping through it just trying to see if it's for them, and something catches their attention, then they zoom in and read that. And wow, that was interesting, and it gets them thinking, and then they might move back up a little further back up your sales letter and start reading back down through it again to figure out the context around that paragraph they just read that was interesting. So that's kind of the train of thought you want to have. Now, this is a very short piece, so we don't need all that. We're not worried about that. So the headline is critically important. It's very wise that you put that in here. I would say that I'd probably work on this a bit. So here's something that comes to mind when I see this. So it says, I serve your lawn so you can do other things. The mindset's right. You're selling a benefit. That's exactly right. You want to be selling benefits versus just saying, I can mow your lawn, edge, weed eat, or we can spray your lawn to kill the weeds and fertilize so that it's thick, so it's healthy. Those are, in a sense, those are kind of features, that anybody could say. You really want to sell benefits. How's my life going to change? How's my life going to be better because I did business with you? So this is moving in that direction. I'd probably use a different headline because here's what I wanted to say. You say, I serve your lawn so you can do other things. So you're saying you should be using my lawn care service. You should be using a lawn care service so that you can go about your normal life and quit wasting your time on the lawn. Do more things that are more fun. Spend more time with your kids. Go golfing, whatever it is. Take a nap, whatever. That's what you're saying. Well, one of the first things I'd point out is that I really wouldn't even try to win the people over that are not lawn care buyers. It's just not worth it. It's too hard to try to convert somebody and convince them they need to buy your lawn care services. It's far, far easier to sell them or sell to somebody that's already a buyer. So for example, if you've got a guy that's always drove a Ford truck, do you really think it's worth trying to spend your effort selling the guy a $50,000 Lexus? The guy's a Ford truck buyer. It's a whole lot easier to just try to sell the guy another Ford truck. Whole lot easier. There may be a reason he's not been dropping 50 grand to buy the Lexus. He may think it's pretentious. He may think he's just a truck guy. His dad may have had a truck. He's just a truck guy, whatever. So you sell him a truck. So it's really hard to get somebody to buy something they've not bought before. So when you're buying mailing lists, there's a couple things. You can buy what's called a response mailing list, or I think it's about how it's worded. And that's a mailing list that's a little different than a mailing list that just is a series of names and addresses and demographics, age, income, house value. It's a list of how responsive they've been to a previous list, to a previous offer. So it gives you an indication of how likely they are to buy. They've recently bought whatever, some type of item in the last X number of days. They're in a buying mode. A lot of times as consumers, we tend to buy things in blocks. So we buy one thing, we buy more, or we buy a new house, now we got to furnish it. We got to put in new tile. We got to do all these new things. We do it all at one time, and then we almost in a sense take this break. And then we're on to the next thing. Okay, it's time to buy a TV, and we got to buy a TV stand, and we got to buy all these other things that go with the TV. Now we need a new DVR. So at the moment when they bought the TV, they're most likely to buy the TV stand. They're most likely to buy the DVR. They're most likely to buy some new movies for their new DVR. Most likely to buy surround sound speakers. They're in the buying mode. They have the most likelihood of being responsive. That's a response list. So I would say don't even bother trying to go after the people that aren't lawn care buyers. Focus really on the guys that are already buyers. Your message is going to be way more relevant if you talk directly to one person. So for instance, if you're sending out a marketing campaign, it's going out to 5,000 people, and some are homeowners, some are renters, some are investors, some are homemakers, some are lawyers, some are doctors, some live in one town, some live in another. If you try to talk to all of them, if you try to talk to the homemaker and the doctor the same as you talk to the renter and the homeowner, your message just doesn't resonate. It doesn't really connect. But if your message is to doctors in Dallas with testimonials from other doctors in Dallas, and your headline solves the need that's specific to doctors in Dallas, you're going to have a whole lot better chance connecting with doctors in Dallas versus watering down your message and trying also to talk to stay-at-home moms that have kids and have too much going on and can't get their husbands to go out and mow the lawn when he's home, and has time on the weekend, and why he should be spending time in the house with the kids because he hasn't seen them all week because he's been working versus mowing the lawn. But that's a whole lot different conversation than the one you have with the doctor. So anytime your marketing can get specific and connect to one group of people, the better you are. So what happens is when you're doing your marketing, you are alienating other people. So for instance, if you're talking to homeowners, you are alienating the renters and the investors. But who cares? The renters and investors are a smaller market, and so you really want to focus on the bigger market. Focus on the moms that are the women of the household who make a lot of the buying decisions, things of that sort. So focus on the bigger market and talk directly to them and answer their needs and their concerns and their fears. So you could say, dear neighbor here. You could do something a little bit different, but try to think about connecting with the person. A great way to do this is think about maybe a buddy that you have that owns a home, or a friend you had, or somebody that you have a connection with, and picture them. So let's say their name's Larry, and you can picture everything about Larry. He's a homeowner, he's married, he's got 2 kids, he's got a car payment, a house payment, he's got a job that he kind of likes, but at the same time he kind of hates it. He's got, he loves whatever the football team is. You start picturing these things about Larry, and you sit down at your computer and you write, Dear Larry. Hey buddy, I know that I know that work's kind of stressful right now. It's not your fault. You deserve this and that, and the big game's coming on Saturday, and you kind of, boy, that's horribly worded the way I just said that. But my point is, you're getting in his head, and you're sitting down, kind of writing a personal letter to him. If he's your good buddy and you know him, how would you talk to him? What would you say to him? What would be the things that he would connect with? If you had to convince him that your lawn service is better than somebody else's lawn service, what would you say to your best friend Larry? And how would you say it? How would you connect with him and relate? Write a letter like that, and write it to Larry when you sit down. Say,